Victims must pay. Fair is foul. Victims must pay. Foul is fair. Victims must pay. No justice, just us. Victims must pay. But why? It is hard to live. It is hard to die. It is harder to live in a world unjust where most are left behind. It is harder to die of injustice for those left behind. It is hardest to be a target of those with minds made up. And yet, she sits high up on a throne over and above the drones and the dome and extends her legs, the legs of justice. Legs like centipedes with suction like tentacles to sniff and sanction the right, condemn the wrong. In her hands hung the scale of fairness that weighs the hearts of all, the actions of all, and walk she must to keep the balance on the scale, even with bad legs running in the opposite direction of true north, chanting, victims must pay, fair is foul, victims must pay, foul is fair, victims must pay, no justice, just us, victims must pay. But why? Walking through the streets and corners of the Republic, I approached Fairway Avenue and saw the beauty of her good legs. Inscribed in cursive, engraved in gold, House of Justice, Hope for Victims. I walked with full confidence like one smeared with harm repellent and observed her legs at work. What a sight! To see the bottom half of justice herself ambulate to the service of the people through the lowly streets, turns and corners, legs in smart uniforms and boots, legs in kaba and slit, legs in skirts and blouse, legs in suits and pants, poised to the bidding of justice, sweating in the snow and shivering under the sun to balance the scale of justice, keeping the widow, the traveler, the mugged, the underdog, and the minority assured that all is not lost. They press on, never running out of fresh supply of victims, produced by deeds of bad legs, screaming their chants at the top of their lungs. Victims must pay. Fair is foul. Victims must pay. Foul is fair. Victims must pay. No justice, just us. Victims must pay. But why? Still, she sits high on her throne with a smile in her eyes, observing the syndicate of well-rehearsed frustration protocol for victims. She smiles and sniffs the fragrance produced by courageous acts of her true legs, wafting past the revolting stench of her bad legs. Yes, her good legs. Legs that rise on their feet and stand on truth and move to fight in the courts, high and low, borders, home and abroad, cabinets, classrooms, bedrooms, boardrooms, and senates. They are wins unnoticed in the lower courts. But they are the heroes of the higher courts, and in the hearts of all they touch, putting up a good fight. For few are chosen, but for the many who are called, victims must pay. Fair is foul. Victims must pay. Foul is fair. Victims must pay. No justice, just us. Victims must pay. But why?